In the start of this story, we see a man falling off of the roof. He thinks, why the hell am I falling off of the roof? I was going to graduate soon. I endured all those hardships for this. I don't understand. What I'm sure of is that this is the day I died. He didn't exactly die, but turned into a vegetative patient. After 3 months, the nurse tells his granny to give up on him because he never saw someone waking up from this state. But his granny tells the nurse that she will never give up on him. He thinks, so after I fell from the roof, I was diagnosed as a vegetative person that I had only heard about. He is in vegetative state. He can hear everyone. He can feel everything, and he can think. He thinks that he will be all right. But in this dark world, there wasn't a thing I was allowed to do. His granny tells him that the doctors are telling her to give up on him. She asks, how I can ever do that? I took you and raised you after you lost your parents. There is no way I'll give up on you ever. Just once. Once will be enough. So just give me a sign that you are alive. He asks his body to move. But he can't move. After some time, MC's brother comes to visit him. He says, I can't hold much longer. The bastard who were harassing you are now harassing me. Grandma started working in a restaurant to earn money for your hospital fee and ended up injuring herself. What do you want me to do? You should have just died. We wouldn't have suffered so much if you just died. He starts crying and asks him to wake up. MC thinks, forget standing up or taking my life. I couldn't even shed tears. This must be a dream. I must be having a long dream. If I just wait a little longer, if I endure a little more, I'm sure I will wake up from this dream. 3 years later, MC is still lying there. He thinks that his brother didn't come to visit for a long time. 2 girls are talking to each other. One girl says that the patient Hyun-sung's grandma fainted. Hyun-sung hearing everything and thinks, what? These girls are evil, and said that they can now increase the volume of the TV. Hyun-sung thinks, nothing makes sense. Min-chul, Young-taek, Miho, Chung-suk, Dae-hwan, Young-chul. These are the names of his bullies. He thinks, even those teachers who were covering those bastards up, if I get a miracle of going back to that time, I will destroy every single one of them. He thinks about how he can destroy his bully. He grabs Min-chul from his head while his eyes are bleeding. Min-chul is asking for help and tells him that it hurts. Hyun-sung asks him if this hurt him more than me, who ended up comatose. I'm sure no matter how much it hurts you, it won't be anything like what my grandma suffered. He destroys all the bullies in his thoughts. He says, no, this isn't what I want. Not a simple revenge like this, from the beginning till the end, regardless of the means and methods. I'm going to make a plan to thoroughly roof them out, so that they can never crawl up again, so that they face more pain than I suffered. Perfect plan that will destroy everything they got. Yes, that's right. This plan will work perfectly. After 10 years of revenge thoughts, he thinks, but anyway, it's all useless. I don't care who you are, but someone please end this life. He appears in his classroom. He thinks, is it morning already? It's the same television sound, the same blackboard. We see he is sitting in his classroom, and all the students are talking to each other. Hyun-sung is very shocked and can't believe this. He thinks that this is just another dream about that day. He pinches his face, and it hurts him. After that, he takes a pin and stabs himself with it, and it also hurts him. At this moment, he realizes that this is not a dream. He really came back. We see Min-chul is bullying some, because that student asks him to do his homework by himself. Min-chul is hitting him very badly. Hyun-sung sees that and thinks, this situation, it is the starting point of all my pain. He remembers all of his sufferings. All students are there, but no one is helping him. Hyun-sung asks him to stop. Min-chul faces him and says, did I hear that wrong? Hyun-sung, do you think you can handle this situation? You must be thinking that you are different from this guy, but that's your misconception. You are nothing. Hyun-sung hits him in the face and thinks, I came back to the freshman year of high school. At the moment, I've been wishing for so long. He remembers how in his previous life he became an outcast. He tries to save his friend from Min-chul. After this moment, they start targeting Hyun-sung and completely destroys his life. Now the flashback ends. Min-chul is angry, but there is no time to get angry. Hyun-sung grabs him from his hair and slams him on the table. Min-chul starts bleeding from his nose. Hyun-sung doesn't stop there. He hits him in the face again and again. He thinks, this moment, this situation. I engraved it in my head as I fell comatose. Minchul has a typical style of fighting that solely relies on his physique. He's not used to being hit, so he is bound to collapse if he gives up his first attack. The moment he tries to react after getting punched in the face, I've calculated grabbing his hair and slamming his face right onto the desk. I endlessly simulated this whole scenario for the past 10 years. And even this next move. Hyunsung throws him at the safe and kicks him in the face. Hyunsung thinks, you won't know how much I waited for this moment. I don't care whether you are beaten to death. If you raise your face, I'll kick you in the face. If you block with your hand, I'll break your hand. Someone throws the chair at him, but he dodges the chair. We see Minchul's gang is here. Chong-suk asks him to stop. Hyunsung, with a cold impression, asks him, what if I don't want to? Miho says, has this bastard really gone insane? Miho thinks, there's no way he doesn't know that we'll stand up if he messes with Minchul, though? He doesn't look even a bit scared, does he? Chong-suk gets angry and says, very well, I'll end your game today. Hyunsung thinks, it's called Minchul's gang because Minchul takes the lead when bullying the kids. In reality, this guy is the strongest in the group. Hyunsung is still not scared even a little. One student tells them that the teacher is coming. Miho asks Chong-suk to let him go. They will finish it later. Chang-uk says, just know that you're dead. I'll find you as soon as class ends. So don't even think of running away. They leaves the classroom. Everyone is sitting on their chairs taking the class. Minchul is on his desk hiding his face while thinking, what was that? I remember being punched first, but at one point, I was being beaten on the floor. Hyunsung, how dare you humiliate me? I'm gonna kill you. The other guys are going to gather here once class ends. Do you think you can handle it? To be honest, had I not let my guard down, I wouldn't have been beaten by that nerd. He must have acted up because he has never seen my bullying the kids. Even though he was the class president and used to intervene every now and then, he never crossed the line. So I never had to mess with Hai. Anyways, what's certain is that he has crossed the line first. I'll leave you half dead as soon as class ends. We see Minchul's gang talking about Hyunsung. Chong-suk says, it'll be nicer if their class ends early, don't you think? Miho says, was he on drugs or something? Well, he acted as if he had no backups. I thought it would be solved easily, but he just had to do that when we were about to trample on him first. Miho says, by any chance, did he spread the rumors about that story? He may have just lost his head, but whatever the reason is, Hyunsung has looked down upon us in front of everyone. If we leave it like that, the other guys will also start taking us easy. So even if we receive the request, let's use this opportunity to trample on him for sure, so that Hyunsung will never look at us with those arrogant eyes anymore. After the class ends, Minchul gets up from his chair and thinks, Hyunsung, you're done for. Hyunsung suddenly kicks Minchul in the face. Hyunsung grabs his hair and tells him that they are going to continue from where they left off. Minchul is looking scared and thinks, what's his deal? Let alone avoid us. Does he actually want to fight? After that, Minchul's gang's class ended. Miho gets up and says, there is nowhere to run to anyway. School has limited space. Let's go to beat the bastard, Hyunsung. When Minchul's gang appears in front of his class, they see that there are so many students looking very worried. Miho suddenly realizes what is going on and runs to see if he is correct. They see inside the class Minchul is getting beaten up very badly. Hyunsung tells them that they're late. It looks like Minchul is unconscious. Chong-suk runs to attack Hyunsung. Hyunsung thinks, I endlessly simulated this scenario when I was comatose for the past 10 years. I had no problem with taking care of Minchul. The biggest problem I had was this guy, Chong-suk. It was easy to beat Minchul, but I couldn't easily find a way to beat this guy with the strength I had at this moment. Then what should I have done? The answer was simple. Doing things that I couldn't think of doing before. He hits Chong-suk with the lock. Hyunsung thinks, fair play? That's inconsequential. To achieve my revenge, I have no reason or time to be picky. No matter which kind of workout you have been doing, I'm sure even you can't handle getting hit by an iron. Chong-suk passed out. Miho and Yongtaek are very scared. Hyunsung runs and tackles Yongtaek with full force. Hyunsung thinks, if I bump myself into him with all my weight, Yongtaek wouldn't be able to endure it. If I drop him down like this in the hallway, he won't even be able to react to the next attack. Hyunsung starts hitting him in the face. He thinks, I don't care if Miho is going to attack me from behind. It's better to finish Yongtaek once and for all. For me to win a battle where I'm outnumbered. Yongtaek is badly injured and Hyunsung looks very cold in this bloody mess. He thinks, I was preparing for this fight for so long in my mind, but it looks like my body isn't fit enough to follow it through. Nonetheless, I can't stop here. Not yet, because there is one more jerk remaining. Miho is very scared and thinks, Hyunsung was this strong? But he was just strong enough to be out of the bully's target lists. He wasn't this strong. He is a monster. Since Changsuk is down right now, I can't ever beat him all by myself. Hyunsung tells him that they should finish what they started. Miho is very scared that his whole body is shaking with fear. When Hyunsung was about to hit Miho, the teacher appeared there. Miho gets happy and thinks, of course, the teacher would notice since he was being so noisy. There are 3 students who have ended up bloody. This is a huge problem for the school. You are dead, you bastard. Teacher starts scolding him saying even if you are boys, there are boundaries. Some of them were sent to the hospital with bloody faces. Teacher thinks, this will be a problem. If this goes wrong, I might have to take responsibility as his advisor. If I don't want to get involved, it's better to put all the blame on Hyunsung. Why did this calm brat cause such a big problem? Teacher says to him, this problem won't only be handled by the school. I have been working as a teacher for over a decade, but I have never seen a brat like you. You better be prepared. The parents of those kids won't let you get away with this. You should pay for what? Hyunsung stops him and says, Teacher, there is no need for you to overreact. It's not like this is the first incident of violence in the school. The thing you are good at. You can just use that skill of yours. Burying the case without escalating the things. Bury this up, so I won't get in trouble. Teacher hits him in the face. But Hyunsung already predicted that this will happen. He thinks, just like I expected. This is why I died. I didn't die just because of harassment. The cause of my death was both harassment and cowardly adults who were busy keeping their nose out. I clearly remember, especially about Youngchul, the advisor of the first section, lived as a teacher. A piece of trash who can't even be called a human being. Hyunsung asks the teacher to stop. When the teacher was about to hit him again, Hyunsung said, Are you really gonna continue? You better lower your voice. If you won't, I can't help but tell others you have been receiving bribes from parents. Especially from Miho's parents. As far as I know, you are in frequent contact. Should I shout it all out right now? Right here? Even if it's not that, there are other things I can say. For example, an affair with the English teacher. After hearing this, he gets very scared. Hyunsung with a cold impression said to him, You better stop, Youngchul, you piece of shit. Hyunsung remembers the time when he went to the teacher's office to get help from an adult after enduring bullying. But when teacher Youngcheol called Mincheol, he just scolded him a little because Mincheol tells that he was just playing with Hyunsung and not bullying him. Youngcheol just called it a day after advising Mincheol to not bully anyone. After that, Hyunsung gets beaten by Mincheol and his gang. They bully every time they see him. At this point, Hyunsung is more angry at teachers than these bullies. He thinks teachers should do their duty properly and look after the student who reported that he is getting bullied. But the teacher just looked away because the bully's parents are paying those teachers. When Youngcheol was passing by, he saw with his own eyes that Hyunsung was getting bullied. Hyunsung, after seeing the teacher, thought that he would get help. But the teacher just looked away. Here, Hyunsung realizes that teacher Youngcheol had no plans of solving this matter because he was getting money from Miho's parents. After that, Hyunsung started fighting back. He starts swinging around his fists randomly, and one day he beats down Miho. But that doesn't help, because Miho just blamed Hyunsung for starting it first, and Miho got away because his parents are wealthy and teachers were also receiving money from them. So everyone was on Miho's side. Because of that, Hyunsung Granny had to apologize to Miho's parents. At school, only Hyunsung got punishment from the school violence committee. Miho and his gang were attending the school normally. After that, when Hyunsung was in vegetative state, he realized that he can't take revenge with just the strength he needed to get adults on his side. In the present, Hyunsung is talking to Youngcheol, who intervenes when Hyunsung was beating bullies. He asks Youngcheol to speak carefully in front of him from now on. Youngcheol was introduced to Miho's parents through a university senior, and he's been taking care of Miho even before he was admitted to this school. And as a reward, he receives a payment every month from Miho's parents. He's been having an affair with the English teacher, a married woman with 3 children. Both Hyuncheol and the English teacher often go to a motel. Hyunsung asks him if he should say more. Hyuncheol's life is so dirty, to the point that this isn't everything. If all the problems are revealed, his life as a teacher will be difficult in the future. Hyunsung warns not to pass this as nonsense. If Hyuncheol is going to act like he did before, Hyunsung warns that he will destroy his life. Even if Hyunsung has to make Hyuncheol quit the school. Hyunsung thinks that by the time he went up to the 3rd year, Hyuncheol's private affairs were revealed. His wife came to school and slapped him and stamped on the divorce papers. It was found that Hyuncheol's family is quite well off, and it was also rumored that everything that could be called property belonged to his wife. If that were true, Hyunsung is certain that Hyuncheol feared his affairs being revealed the most. So, there's no way this blackmail doesn't work. Hyuncheol, terrified, asks Hyunsung what he wants from him. Hyunsung orders him to keep living like trash in the future. He wants Hyuncheol to remain silent and cover up everything for Hyunsung. He wants Hyuncheol to prevent this incident from exploding, regardless of the means and methods. In return, Hyunsung promises to never reveal Hyuncheol's secrets to anyone until Hyunsung graduates. Hyuncheol, not knowing what to do, simply replies that he will try. While walking in the hallway, Hyunsung thinks that Hyuncheol is just his first he thought of in advance. He must fasten the preparation of the next card. But for now there's something he must do. Inside the classroom, Miho is getting angry after getting beaten up by Hyunsung. Miho thinks that Hyuncheol will not let Hyunsung get away from this incident because he is receiving money from Miho's family. Miho expected Hyunsung to get expelled after this. Miho accepted that he was a bit scared after seeing Hyunsung before. He decides to become the predator in the school, thinking that Hyunsung will never come back. When he comfortably sits on his chair, door slams open and Hyunsung arrives there. Hyunsung decides to finish what he started. Miho gets hit on the face and falls off of the chair. Then Hyunsung approaches him and kicks him on the face. After that, Hyunsung pins him down and starts beating him. Miho is asking for forgiveness, but Hyunsung has no intentions of stopping. Miho notices that Hyuncheol is watching from the window. He expects Hyuncheol to help him, but he just looked away. Then Hyunsung tells him not to expect any help from anyone in the school. 5 minutes earlier, we see Hyuncheol, who is completely terrified and thinks that there is no way he can ignore this because 3 students have been sent to hospital. The school doesn't want this case to get much attention, but the students' parents will not let it slide. Especially Miho's parents. Those people won't just sit by if it's related to their son. Miho's parents are affluent people that own several buildings and are famous in Daesan. Their school was provided with free maintenance thanks to them. They also paid repair fees for school with their own money. Their influence is inevitably strong since the principal is taking care of them himself. And the biggest problem for Hyuncheol is that he also receives money from Miho's parents. If they begin to fuss things out, Hyuncheol won't be able to do anything. Hyuncheol is in a panic state thinking what to do. Hyuncheol decides to separate Miho from this case because Hyunsung hasn't touched Miho yet. He immediately gets up to stop Hyunsung from beating Miho. But when he reaches there, he finds out that Miho has already been beaten up. Hyuncheol decides to abandon Miho because if his relationship with English teacher gets exposed, it will be all over for him. Hyunsung, while beating Miho, thinks that he is the one who laughed at Hyunsung for the last 3 years. Hyunsung was treated like that because he was weak. Hyunsung can't believe that he was getting bullied by this loser who is shivering like this. After completely releasing his anger, Hyunsung sits on the chair and calls Miho a loser. Hyunsung knew that the teacher would try to remove Miho from this and would easily cover up the other 3, but if Hyunsung wanted that, he wouldn't have slapped Minchul the moment he came back. Having experienced a hellish life, Hyunsung built a strong determination for revenge, and this is the result. Things will get really noisy soon. 3 people were taken earlier, and 1 additional person is here. The principal that wanted to make Kianul High School a prestigious school will try to punish the perpetrator severely. Contrary, the witnesses that watched Hyunsung must have wanted to cover it up. No one can stop them even they wanted to. If Kianul High can't even handle it, Hyunsung won't even dream about getting revenge. It's just the beginning. In the meeting hall, the principal is getting angry because Hyunsung didn't just send his victims to the hospital, he brutally assaulted them. And even after Hyunsung got a consultation from Youngcheol, he didn't even show any remorse. He also viciously assaulted Miho. Principal declares this a savage crime. Principal Daehan says that the faces of victims were in such terrible states, just like the one we see in movies. All teachers decided to give punishment to Hyunsung. The English teacher also agrees. English teacher was about to say that they should expel Hyunsung, but Youngcheol stops her. Youngcheol agrees that Hyunsung is at fault, but Youngcheol tries to save him, saying that this incident is caused by Minchul and the other victims. Daehan asks him to explain further. Youngcheol says that there's word that Minchul and his gang bullied a lot of students. So, Youngcheol was going to give them punishment, but Hyunsung, who wasn't able to tolerate the bullying, took this action. Youngcheol requests to not punish Hyunsung. Daehan tells him that punishment is inevitable. Daehan is also thinking of pleasing Miho's parents by giving Hyunsung a proper punishment. To become more powerful, Daehan decides to stick with those who are in power. Daehan announces that he'll gather the discussion committee in a week. They'll decide how to punish Hyunsung, so Daehan hopes that everyone will keep their mouths shut. And Hyunsung will be suspended until the committee meeting is held. He asks Hyunsung to reflect on his deed and come back in a week with his guardian. Hyunsung calmly agrees with them. Hyunsung was walking in the hallway, but then Youngcheol stops him and tells him that he has done his best. But since Hyunsung touched Miho, it's become a problem that Youngcheol can't solve no matter what he does. Youngcheol asks him to keep his temper down so he can find a way to solve this problem. After hearing that Hyunsung thinks that Youngcheol is an interesting person, he used to be someone that slapped Hyunsung and looked down at him. Well, as a teacher he already threw away his conscience long ago. He's a trash of a person. Hyunsung took him in because he knew that he would do everything for Hyunsung depending on the situation. And he doesn't even know that he could solve this problem. Hyunsung tells him that he did his best, but the truth about Minchul bullying the students, Youngcheol must have known about it from the start. Hyunsung scares him, telling that there's only one way to keep Hyunsung's mouth shut, and that is to do all the things that are best for Hyunsung until he graduates. If Youngcheol doesn't do that, then not only he, but the English teacher will also suffer. Hyunsung promises to keep his words. He walks away angrily, thinking that he wanted to destroy Youngcheol right now, but he's not Hyunsung's real goal. Just because of his temporary anger, he can't just throw away a useful card. Youngcheol will come in handy, at least until Hyunsung strengthens his foundation in this school. Even though Youngcheol is only a teacher, he'll do anything for his own survival. After this week, it'll be the time to carry out the plan that Hyunsung has been planning for years. He warns that there will be a drastic change in a situation after a week. While walking home, Hyunsung thinks that he can walk in this alley again. He can't even remember how many years it's been when he last walked in this alley. He lives in a shabby villa number 00. Hyunsung's only 50 million won house. If it weren't for his parents' death insurance, he would have been living on a monthly salary. The time when his grandma forced to move from here because of Hyunsung's hospital bills, he felt like the wood had collapsed. Since Hyunsung was a kid, he used to perceive this place as really shabby, but truthfully, Hyunsung is thankful that he has a place to come back to now. When he enters home, he calls his grandma. Then he remembers that her grandma used to work every day at this hour. She is doing this all for her family. So Hyunsung decides not to become sentimental. It's already a miracle that he got a second chance in life. That's why he is dead set about his revenge. If possible, he also wants to provide an abode in a place where his grandma and his brother Kai and Jin can live at ease. There's a week left until the deliberation committee meeting. He decides, within 2 years, he's going to devour the surrounding areas, establish the foundation, and clean up those people's base. In order to do that, he needs to fulfill 3 conditions. First condition, his personal manpower. To bring down those school violence perpetrators, he needs enough strength to face them without being pushed back. There's no way he can train himself to that extent. If only he can win over that person, it will bring a significant advantage in future battles. Condition 2, it's similar in context. His future opponents have immense manpower. In order to deal with those guys, he must gather people who have the same purpose as him. In the end, people play a significant role. Hyunsung is just a mere freshman in high school at the moment. Even if he has a perfect plan, he doesn't have the power to execute it. He has to take a lead to find the people he needs. Finally, the most salient one, the third condition. This problem can be solved because he has experienced it in advance. Background. He needs a background to put his plan into action so that nothing stands in his way. And now, to solve the problem regarding the deliberation committee, having a background is prioritized. After that, we see a person in the police station causing chaos. He asks them if they don't know which family he belongs to. He warns the police officers that they will not be safe after treating him like this. Police officer asks him to stay quiet and calls him an old man. He gets angry and tells him that he's just a 35-year-old single man, oldest son of the head of Myeongjeon Construction, Changbyum. The police officer already know that, and he also knows that he will be in huge trouble after messing with Changbyum. Because he is in the line of succession, they have to handle him carefully. Changbyum sits down and thinks that he hit them first. That is why he is in this mess. The people he hit were very weak, that's why they were taken to the ER. If something happens to them, his opponents will definitely make a fuss. Recently, Changbyum's father publicly announced that the commencement of the succession race for Changbyum and his brother, in order to choose who's capable enough to take over the business. In other words, to take over his seat. Changbyum, who only has a high school degree, and his younger brother, who graduated from a prestigious university. Changbyum's brother married to a famous woman in Daesan 3 years ago. Due to that, his brother was able to monopolize a strong position. Changbyum is doomed if he gets the news that he's involved in a case of violence. The police officer knows that Changbyum is really annoyed, but it's also Changbyum's fault that he hits innocent civilians. That's why they can't let this case slide. Changbyum angrily says that those guys punched him first. The police officer tells him that there's no proof. There's even no CCTV there. So the victim's testimony can't be argued at all. When Changbyum looks around, he sees a kid and thinks, why is a kid here? This kid is Hyunsung. He tells them that he is here to testify for Changbyum. Hyunsung shows them a video in which the police officer can clearly see that Changbyum was just passing by when bystanders started attacking. He used all means to avoid the fight, but it ended up in this mess. Hyunsung tells them that he just happened to witness it while passing by. He thought it'd be a lot of trouble because there was no CCTV there. So, he asked for the black box video of the parked car nearby and came here. Because testimony from a minor like Hyunsung is not convincing. Hyunsung explains that Changbyum guy was trying to avoid the situation by any means, but the others held on to him persistently and assaulted him. He had no choice but to protect himself. Hyunsung points out that it's not Changbyum's fault that he's strong enough to knock them all down in one blow. Hyunsung mentions that this is self-defense. Changbyum gets happy and praise Hyunsung. Changbyum realized that his father just thought that whoever gets beaten should receive it. As long as there's proof and a witness, there's no reason for his position in the succession race to be in jeopardy. The police officer decides to end the investigation here and apologize Changbyum for not listening him carefully. Before going, Changbyum threatens the police officer saying that he will remember his face. Hyunsung and Changbyum walking together. Changbyum thanks Hyunsung for saving him. Changbyum gave Hyunsung a huge sum of money, and Hyunsung takes it without hesitation. Hyunsung asks him if he thinks that this incident happened by accident. Changbyum can't understand what he is talking about. Hyunsung shows his true colors and tells him that he knows what kind of person Changbyum is. He is currently competing in the successor race against his younger brother, Changsik. Changbyum asks him who he is. Hyunsung tells him that he thought this incident was not accidental. And he has the proof too. Hyunis thinks that Changbyum was a popular man in Daesan. Thanks to him, some of the matters of his family were engraved into Hyunsung's mind, on how they live, until how they ended. Hyunsung asks for an hour to talk if Changbyum is really thankful. Hyunsung promised that it's not something that'll harm Changbyum. By that, Hyunsung meant Changbyum life. Hyunsung shows him the full video that he got from Blackbox. Videos show that 3 people were standing outside the convenience store as if they were waiting for someone. The moment Changbyum arrives there, they start a fight with him. Hyunsung tells him that after seeing these previous events, it feels like someone intentionally doing this as soon as the successor race started. There is a chance that all of this is planned by Changsik to undermine Changbyum. After hearing that, Changbyum thinks that he was also suspicious. But he didn't want to find out that his younger brother, who grew well, would commit such a nasty deed. Changbyum asks him about the reason for telling him this. Hyunsung thinks that the Myeongjin construction is only acknowledged in the countryside as of now. But based on their solid capital and technology, they would succeed in apartment branding. Thanks to Chairman Myeongjin's philosophy that you should never play with houses that people live in, they reduced the margin and increased their completion rate, and later put the name of Myeongjin construction in the ranks of large conglomerates. But in that process, both the sons disappeared. Changsik was the start of the problem. From this point on, not long after, an incident that shook the groups of Daesan, to the point that even Hyunsung, who was suffering from school violence, knew about it. Changsik was aiming for the position of the successor and did all sorts of things, and ended up being discovered by Changbyum. The angry Changbyum punched Changsik just like that, and through that blow, Changsik became permanently disabled. Furious about this, Myeongjin announced that both of his sons were incompetent, so he wouldn't hand over Myeongjin construction to them, and this caused an uproar. So at one point, digging up the activities of the two sons became popular enough to be posted as memes on the internet. Thanks to that, Hyunsung was able to trace his memory and find that location. Anyways, due to that, Chairman Myeongjin hired a professional manager, which led Myeongjin construction to rise to the ranks of conglomerates. For Myeongjin's construction's sake, it'll be good for the future to not change. The eldest son, Changbyum, isn't so evil to cut down his competitor, but he's an incompetent person with a typical nasty temperament. The second son, Changsik, is a vicious person who does everything regardless of morality to achieve his own goal. It's only right for Myeongjin construction to cut out both sons for their own sake, but that's not really important to Hyunsung. To him, their usefulness in his matters is more important. What's right or wrong? What kind of butterfly effect will happen once the future changes? That kind of thing isn't Hyunsung's business. It doesn't matter even if the future changes for the worse through his choices. In this life of Hyunsung, revenge comes first, and he's going to take care of his family. Hyunsung decides to help Changbyum to get revenge on Changsik, and so that Changbyum can become the chairman of Myeongjin construction. Changbyum takes it as a bluff because Hyunsung is just a high schooler. Then Hyunsung mentions that there sure are people who are helping Changbyum in this succession race. But the people who are assisting Changbyum are merely filling his ears with sweet things. While a mere high schooler like Hyunsung can decipher Changsik's plot, it's obvious that those people must be Changsik's informants. Hyunsung is not asking Changbyum to believe him. He just wants a chance. The chance to build their relationship and trust. Outside the cafe, frustrated Changbyum is smoking. Then a man comes and tells him that this is a non-smoking area. Changbyum angrily asks him to go back in if he doesn't want this cafe to get destroyed. Seeing Changbyum, Hyunsung thinks that he is someone who lives carelessly as he was born as the oldest son of Myeongjin construction. Changbyum was famous for being known as a time bomb that should not be touched in the land of Daesan, but Hyunsung didn't approach him because he was righteous in the first place. It's because he's moderately a rotten one who could destroy his brother for the sake of power. That's actually why Hyunsung determined that Changbyum was the suitable person for his plan. Changbyum looks at Hyunsung and thinks that he haven't said anything wrong. Compared to Changsik, Changbyum doesn't have anything, and at this rate, it's obvious that the successor position would be stripped away from me powerlessly. However, in this situation, is it right to believe the words of a 17-year-old whom Changbyum met for the first time in his life? Changbyum remembers his father advising him to keep people with skills to his side. And don't fret about their age, gender, or situation. If Changbyum keep those who have the skills he need by his side, he'll be able to lead Myeongjin construction. Changbyum goes inside and asks for Hyunsung's plan. He decides to make a decision after hearing that. After that, we see Changsik, who is very angry because his men failed to do the task that he gave them. He is very angry at the way his father thinks. He is not happy with the idea of the eldest precedes the inheritance rights. He calms down and realizes that he still has the upper hand. Then, someone calls him and tells him that the ma'am has broken into Hyunsung office del. Meanwhile, Hyunsung tells Changbyum that in order to win this succession race, he needs to be aware of reality. He asks Changbyum, between Changbyum and Changsik, who does he think suits the chairman position of Myeongjin construction? The answer is Changsik, because unlike Changbyum, who barely graduated from high school, Chang Sik studied business administration at a prestigious university abroad, and he got married to a prestigious family as soon as he returned to Korea. Afterwards, he instigated that those who were recruited by him should fairly decide on the successor. That way, an official succession structure has been formed. Nothing has been a coincidence from the beginning. Chang Sik has prepared a lot in order to steal Changbyum's position, and as a result, he's created a very clear, advantageous position for him. Except for the fact that Changbyum is the older brother, there's not a single part where Changbyum exceeded more than Chang Sik. On top of that, Changbyum has a lot of cases and accidents like this one. There is no way someone will support Changbyum. Even after taking into account such differences, Hyunsung does think that there's enough possibility for Changbyum to him. Even after taking into account such differences, Hyunsung does think that there's enough possibility for Changbyum to him. Even when Chang Sik is clearly in the advantage for this succession race, there's only one reason why Myung-jin would make Changbyum compete for it. It's because of the naive thought that the eldest son would still desire to become the successor. That's why even Changbyum can compete. Even though the difference has grown to such an extent that competition itself is not necessary, but Charmin Myung-jin has yet to select a successor. If that is the case, what if Chang Sik, who is superior to Changbyum in every way, happens to fall to the bottom? If Changbyum had the same skills, who would Chairman Myung-jin choose between Changbyum and Chang Sik? That's when the competition begins. When Changbyum stands on the same level as Chang Sik. At that time, the only strength of being the eldest son will be the class that you can never turn upside down. We see Chang Sik's wife has beaten a girl. Hyunsung tells him that there are 3 conditions that he needs to fulfill in order to win the successor competition. The first condition is background. Unfortunately, Changbyum has already lost in terms of background. While his younger brother was marrying to gain the support of a prestigious family, Changbyum was busy partying in clubs and making friends there. The second condition is reputation. Changbyum's reputation is notorious in a bad way. The final condition is ability. While Changbyum was busy hanging with girls and going out drinking, Chang Sik gained recognition for his abilities doing administrative work. He had an easy competition. He didn't need to stand out that much. Even if his abilities were only alright, he would be better than you, who was doing nothing. From now on, Hyunsung decides on turning the tables one by one. On all the 3 conditions. Going back to the first one, background. How can they gain the upper ground in this aspect? Changbyum can't marry into a prestigious family like Chang Sik. Right now, there's no way a prestigious family like the one he married into would pop up out of nowhere, so they must think out of the box. So Changbyum has to get them to divorce. If the only factor to Chang Sik's upper hand in background is gone, Chang Sik will be forced to come back to the start line, where Changbyum is. After that, we Changbyum, Chang Sik, and their father. Chang Sik apologizes. Chang Sik is saying sorry for some reasons. Myongjin calls him pathetic bastard and tells him that he's talked with Chang Sik's father-in-law. He told him that he would scold Chang Sik, so there's no need for a divorce. Myongjin basically pleaded to give Chang Sik another chance. Chang Sik's father-in-law told Myongjin to inform Chang Sik that his wife will begin living apart from him immediately. They'll watch Chang Sik apologize and decide whether to forgive him or not. When Chang Sik apologizes again, his father gets angry and reminds him that he warned Chang Sik to keep it in your pants or his marriage will go up in flames. If Chang Sik wanted to hang out with other women, he should have stayed single like Changbyum. Then Myongjin asks Changbyum about why he was in the police station. Like always, Myongjin expects that Changbyum will just scream and say that he didn't do anything wrong. Changbyum remembers his talk with Hyunsung. Here Changbyum is happy with Hyunsung's idea and knows that he just has to find Chang Sik's dirty secrets and tells his father. Changbyum thinks that he just has to say Chang Sik is disgracing our family name. You should not let Chang Sik take over the company. If Changbyum keeps that up, Myongjin will get annoyed with my brother. Hyunsung disagrees with him. Hyunsung thinks that when he was in a vegetative state, he heard a documentary about Myongjin. He learns that the previous chairman of Myongjin Construction knew about what his sons were up to, and that includes the evil plans of Chang Sik, and how he plotted against his older brother to take him down. Former chairman Myongjin let his son be, with these words and quote, "That is one method of doing things." Myungjin criteria for selecting a successor were not a clean background. Their personal life might be a bit messy, but as long as they had the potential to grow the company, he didn't care. On that note, will snitching on Chang-sik's dirty personal life really make Myung-jin reconsider? The answer is no. Myung-jin will just pass down his company to a professional manager like in Hyun-sung's previous life. Chang-sik is the same as before. The position of chairman won't come back to Chang-byum just because his competitor has a dirty record like Chang-sik. Behavior that's suited for a person who will be a chairman. A different side of him. Hyun-sung needs to show off Chang-byum's new side. Hyun-sung decides to tell the plan. Then we see Chang-byum apologizes to Myung-jin for his mistake. Chang-byum says that he will remember his responsibilities as Myung-jin's son and act responsibly. And Chang-byum decides to scold Chang-sik in the place of Myung-jin. Myung-jin is happy because he learned that thugs try to provoke Chang-byum first and Chang-byum tries to not cause a fight. Myung-jin praises Chang-byum for handling the situation with dignity. Chang-sik is very angry. On the other hand, Chang-byum can't believe that his father was proud of him. He can't believe that his strict father acknowledged him. He decides to make his father more proud of him. After that, we see Chang-byum and Hyun-sung sitting in the car. Chang-byum tells him that because of his help, he got acknowledged by his father. He asks Hyun-sung what to do in order to become the chairman. He decides to follow and listen to everything that Hyun-sung will say from now on. Hyun-sung asks him to not get too excited. Chang-sik is not at the same starting point as them, but only in terms of background. In order for Chang-byum to become the next chairman, he'll need to win against Chang-sik in the other two conditions. However, Hyun-sung has a few suggestions for him. For the time being, it will be difficult. He asks Chang-byum to start working in the company and learn management work. When the time comes, Hyun-sung will tell him what he needs to do next. First, Chang-byum doesn't want to work in the company, but then decides to do that. Hyun-sung tells him that he also has to do some other things. Hyun-sung makes him remember that they joined hands because they were expecting something from each other. Hyun-sung tells him what he has to do. Then on the day of the deliberation committee hearing, we see Miho's mom is hitting Young Cheol for not protecting Miho. She asks Young Cheol to make sure to expel the student who beats her son if Young Cheol wants his job. Young Cheol was also scared of Hyun-sung because he might reveal his secrets. Young Cheol realizes that he will get kicked no matter which option he chooses. Hyun-sung arrives at the meeting. They decided to start the meeting now. Before principal said something, Young Cheol gets up and tells everyone that this incident was caused by Miho, not Hyun-sung. This is the end. Subscribe and comment if you want to see more. Young Cheol decided to take Hyun-sung's side because he knew that his guardian is the eldest son of the Myung-jin construction. When Young Cheol looked at the list of attendants, he thought it would be someone with the same name, but Chang-byum, who is a leading figure that can't be compared to Miho's parents. He wonders how someone like Chang-byum became Hyun-sung's guardian. That's why Young Cheol takes advantage of the fact that no one knows who Chang-byum is. So he decides to take Hyun-sung's side, ignoring the money he is receiving from Miho's parents. Principal asks him to explain everything in detail. Young Cheol tells everyone that he has received a lot of reports of 4 students that have been called Park Min-cheol's gang from the beginning of the semester, going around and bullying their friends. Young Cheol tells them that he bluntly warned them not to stir up trouble, but as more time passes, the behavior of these students just gets worse. He explains that a few days ago, Min-cheol was bullying his classmates as usual. Hyun-sung, who can no longer watch his friend being bullied, tried to stop what they were doing with his pure and young heart, but Min-cheol brought a few of his friends to blackmail Hyun-sung. Young Cheol asks everyone who is present there if they will stay still after getting harmed by someone. What Hyun-sung did was strictly self-defense. Miho's case is the same. He is a Min-cheol gang's informant. He attempted a group assault when Hyun-sung acted in defense. In Hyun-sung's shoes, in order not to get hit again, he had no choice but to act unexpectedly. Young Cheol agrees that Hyun-sung's defense was a bit too harsh. But if teachers overlook the circumstances of the case and causal relationship and only punish Hyun-sung severely, they'll only become trash like teachers and adults who ignored the essence of school violence. Young Cheol concludes his conservation here. Principal is still on Miho's side, asks Young Cheol to not blur the point even more. Principal reminds them that they're discussing the heinous incident that sent 4 students to the emergency room for the first time in Kiano High's history. The fact that the victims were the ones who led the school violence is an unconfirmed truth, and it's a separate issue from what they're discussing right now. Principal mentioned that violence can never be justified for any reason. Moreover, the principal never heard or seen the students committing such cruel violence. Principal is putting a great act of being righteous. Principal tells them that punishment is must to prevent this kind of mishap from happening again. So they decide to pinpoint the problem this time and punish the perpetrating student. That way, the parents who entrusted their child to Kianol High School can rest assured and return home without any worries. Now they decide to listen to Miho about how things happened, because they think that the testimony of the victim will be more precise. Miho explains while shivering about the situation he experienced. He says that the situation is completely different from what Youngcheol said. He tells them when he entered Mincheol's class that Mincheol was being beaten up one-sidedly by Hyunsung. He asks them to call another witness if they don't believe him. Seeing his friend beaten up, Miho couldn't stay still and ran to them. But without hesitation, Hyunsung held the weapon. Seeing how a few people gathered, Hyunsung must have felt threatened too. But Mincheol looked so miserable that Miho and his gang didn't have time to fathom Hyunsung's feelings. Miho tells them that he can't understand why the teacher is trying to put the blame on him. On top of that, that's not the end of what Hyunsung did. He asks Youngcheol if he remembers disciplining Hyunsung back then. Hyunsung might have been annoyed by being called to the teacher's office. He came looking for me and assaulted me, who was doing nothing, mercilessly and proudly in front of his friends. But is this really my fault? Miho asked while hiding his evil face. To take advantage of Miho's crying face, Mom started talking about how her son is the best and most merciful in the world. He never did anything blah blah blah. To make the situation worse for Hyunsung, she starts manipulating other parents into believing that Hyunsung is a bad person and he should be punished. So, everyone starts asking to punish Hyunsung. At the hospital, Mincheol and his gang are thinking that Hyunsung will surely get expelled and they will get compensation for what happened to them. At the school, Changbyum starts talking. He asks them if they are pretending to not know or they really know. He calls Miho a demon wearing human fur. Principal gets angry and asks Changbyum to not call any student a demon, but Changbyum still calls him a demon. He tells them that he found out about Part Mintrol's gang on his own. Their assault is basically ripping off others' money, stealing things. They're quite famous brats, to the point where no one wouldn't know about them here. He asks them why they are just embracing Miho. Are they lacking in comprehension? Or they are receiving money from Miho's parents? The bastards called Mincheol's gang fell down with a thud and a few ambulances came to school, but it all happened because Hyunsung was trying to protect himself. Youngcheol said it too, that they must look at the true nature of this incident. Changbyum asks them if they had stayed still after getting bullied by thugs. Miho's mom gets angry because Changbyum called her son a thug. She asks Changbyum about his identity because Hyunsung doesn't have parents. Changbyum remembers what Hyunsung had asked him to do when they were sitting in the car. Hyunsung asked him to become his sponsor. Changbyum asks him to just ask for money if needed. Hyunsung tells him that it's true he needs Changbyum's wealth, but for what Hyunsung is going to do in the future. Hyunsung also needs power to take down those with power. He tells Changbyum that he is planning to cause a lot of trouble in school in the future. It's not going to be a normal fist fight, but incidents that are big enough to cause legal problems. Every time that happens, Hyunsung asks Changbyum to stay behind him and solve all of his problems. If Changbyum carry Hyunsung in his back, at least, no one in Daesan would dare to mess with Hyunsung. If Changbyum faithfully fulfill the role of his guardian and show Hyunsung results that would satisfy him, he promises Changbyum right here too that he will make him sit as the chairman of the Myeongjin construction using whatever means necessary. Changbyum asks him to not worry about anything because he's a master in solving these problems. He tells Hyunsung that even if he beats down people or causes any kind of trouble, it will not be a problem. In the present, Changbyum reveals that he is the eldest son of Myeongjin construction. Changbyum calls Hyunsung his younger brother and tells everyone that he is not the one who go around and cause trouble, but Changbyum heard Hyunsung was called to a deliberation committee hearing. So he came running. He even put aside all his work. Cheon High is Daesan's prestigious school, and Changbyum hoped that Hyunsung attend school without any trouble. Changbyum was planning to sponsor the school in Myeongjin Construction's name. Now Changbyum decides to think about it again because he didn't expect the school to be this rotten and poorly run. Minsu's mom asks him if he is threatening them. Changbyum tells her that he is just stating the fact about what an educator is supposed to do. Aren't educators supposed to instill righteous and just values into students? If so, why is Hyunsung, the one who fought back against bullies to save a fellow classmate, being punished? Changbyum asks them if they are just going to ignore the years of bullying Hyunsung went through and punish for standing up for himself, although a bit violently, but he did it to save himself. He asks them about where all of this righteous talk was when Hyunsung was being beaten. Changbyum asks them if they were doing this because Hyunsung is from a poor family or they are getting money from Miho's parents. If these are the reasons, then Changbyum decides to not let this go easily. Changbyum threatens them, saying that anyone who is on Miho's side, he will make sure that no one will step foot in Daesan again. The principal felt true fear for the first time. The principal has many questions like, how the firstborn son of Myeongjin is the Hera? And wasn't Hyunsung an orphan living with his grandma and younger brother? Principal realizes that if he takes Miho's side, he won't be able to even dream of getting connections with Myeongjin Construction. He'll probably be thrown out of Daesan City just because he went against Myeongjin Construction's warning. Principal wonders what will happen if he cuts ties with Miho. He realizes that this is his best chance to get on the good side of Myeongjin. If he can get Myeongjin to sponsor the school, it'll only be a matter of time for Kiano High to become the best school in the whole country. Even if he'll be called a traitor and be hit with rocks, if he thinks about Kiano's future, this is not something he even has to think about. Principal says that he actually has heard that there was a group of kids that were bullying students from the start of the school year. He reveals that he heard many times that Miho was the ringleader of a bullying group. When Miho's mom was about to speak, the principal stopped her, saying that this is not the victim's mother's turn to speak. Principal tells them that he is not saying this to pass the blame onto someone else, but rather just stating the facts that are laid out before them. The deliberation committee is a place where a judgment is made based solely on going over the facts. Student Hyunsung is one of the best high-achieving students. He must have had a good reason to do what he did. Miho's mother is completely confused and worried. Principal decides to hear what Hyunsung has to say. After hearing that, Hyunsung thinks that they're finally asking his side of the story. When he didn't have anyone backing him up, the same people who wouldn't listen to a thing Hyunsung say. If someone had listened to him in his previous life, he wouldn't have been faced with such a horrible death. Hyunsung starts talking and reveals that he told so many teachers about Mincheol's group going around beating up kids. Every time he told the teachers about it, they would all say the same thing. That Mincheol you're talking about isn't the kind of kid that'd do something like that. Are you sure they weren't just playing around? Be a man and solve problems for yourself. This is what every teacher said to him. Sometimes, the teachers would tell Hyunsung that they'd look into the matter, but they didn't look into the root of the matter. And even if they did look into it further, they would just lightly scold them. Also, they gave them the confidence to do worse things without worrying about being apprehended. Hyunsung accepted that he did hit Miho and send Mincheol and the others to the hospital. But the Hyunsung question is, why is sitting here just hitting them once? The reason is not that he went too far. The real reason is that teachers thought Hyunsung was powerless. Even if he suffered from violence and fell from the rooftop, if he had no power, it would just get buried. One law for the rich and another for the poor. If that is an unchangeable truth, Hyunsung will enjoy that unchangeable truth to the fullest. There is a gang that has been committing such atrocious deeds until now. Hyunsung requests them to punish those people. If not, he'll spread the word about this incident outside the school. Everyone in the world will know the reality of Kiano High, and Kiano will become a disgrace to Daesan. The only way to shut Hyunsung's mouth is by definitive punishment. Miho's mom gets angry and shouts that she will never let her son get punished for this. She decides to call her husband. She tells everything to her husband, and also tells him that everyone is against Miho just for the reason Hyunsung's sponsor is the eldest son of Myeongjin Construction. To confirm, her husband asks if Changbyum is really the sponsor. Miho's mom gets relieved because she thought that her husband will be able to take care of Changbyum. But she gets hit with a reality check. Her husband starts getting angry at her and asks her if she wants to see her family getting destroyed. Husband tells her to come back home at once and let Miho get punished for mistakes. At night, we see Hyunsung lying down in his room. He remembers what school did. They expelled the 4 students including Miho and gave Hyunsung 100 hours of volunteer work. After that, Miho tries to attack Hyunsung, but his mother stops him. Hyunsung orders Miho to get down on his knees and beg for forgiveness. Miho gets angry because he already got expelled and now Hyunsung is asking him to kneel down. He suggests Miho should ask his mother whether to kneel down or not. He whispers to Miho that Miho should try his best to soothe Hyunsung. Who knows whether Hyunsung ends it with Miho's expulsion. Miho's mother asks him to get down on his knees and beg. Now Miho has no choice but to do that. Hyunsung remembers how in his previous life his grandma had to kneel down in the same way. Hyunsung sat down and told Miho that this will not be enough to make him feel better. So, Miho should start praying, because his future will be filled with only misery from now on. And with this, the deliberation committee ended. Hyunsung took one step closer to finding the mastermind of the gang, who tried to push Hyunsung to his death. Afterwards, he receives a message from Mincheol who tells Hyunsung that he wants to see him for a bit. Without wasting time, Hyunsung goes to meet Mincheol. Mincheol thanks him for coming. Hyunsung asks him to skip the small talk and get to the point. Mincheol admits that bullying the other kids and trying to beat him up that day was all his fault. Because of his immaturity, he didn't consider how painful it must have been for others. After a week in the hospital, Mincheol accepts whatever the result of the deliberation committee was. He promises that he won't do anything like that in the future. So, Mincheol requests him to let this slide for once. He asked the teacher, and he said that if Hyunsung agrees, he can avoid expulsion. Miho was accompanied by his parents and turned out that way, so they can't undo what happened to him. But he said he could at least bail Mincheol and his gang out. That's why Mincheol is asking for one more chance. If they get expelled like this, their lives will be over. Mincheol has decided to do anything for Hyunsung, like running errands and becoming his bread shuttle. In return, he just wants to avoid expulsion. Hyunsung thinks that being expelled must have come as a surprise for him. Even if they act like predators in front of the other kids, they're still barely 17 years old. They're just high schoolers with unstable lives. They won't be able to find another school in this small Daesan area that will accept them. Dropping out of high school, and due to school violence nevertheless, they must believe they will be stamped for the rest of their lives. Mincheol decides to reveal they are getting ordered by someone to bully Hyunsung. But Hyunsung already knew that. While Hyunsung was in coma, he heard shocking news about the forces who have been leading the school violence. A student who was bullied like Hyunsung threw himself off the rooftop. The suicide note that he left behind contained the truth. Golden Circle, an organization founded in a prestigious school in Gangnam. The core members of the circle were unknown even if the future he saw. The founder of the Golden Circle saw students suffering from school violence and had a strong intuition that this would be a profitable business. He recruited bullies, or kids with similar strength to his, and sought out students who had wealthy and powerful parents, offered to protect their children while they were at school. A system was formed so that the students he managed would receive excellent grades. If the member was falling down the ranks due to another student, the recruited students would be mobilized and they would remove the top-ranking student. In the future, Hyunsung saw that the outline members of the Golden Circle were revealed, and not long after, the case was buried into oblivion. And the identity or members of the Golden Circle were not revealed until the very end. In order to exact his revenge on the ones who pushed him into hell, Hyunsung must dig up the Golden Circle in detail and destroy them. But there's something strange. Golden Circle is based in Seoul, and their power won't reach here, Daesan. So who and how in the world did they hire Mincheol? Mincheol reveals that it's Shin Youngmin, a third year at Kyeonil School, a bully who holds the entire school in the palm of his hands. Hyunsung couldn't come to the conclusion that he was a member of the Golden Circle, because the Golden Circle also leaves requests that they get from the countryside to their soldiers. Youngmin isn't capable of finding a client himself. However, he must be in contact with the Golden Circle. Hyunsung can draw out the Golden Circle using him, but Youngmin won't give the information so easily, and he is a strong guy. So strong that he could debut as a professional MMA athlete in the future. If Hyunsung attacks with flimsy skills, he'll be completely defeated. Right now, Hyunsung must decide on how to get rid of this Mincheol first. He looks at Mincheol and asks, "You want my forgiveness, right?" Hyunsung grabs him from the collar and thinks that there are layers upon layers of feeling accumulated, ever since falling into a coma. Forgiveness or repentance, Hyunsung will not let these things get in his way. Hyunsung decides to show Mincheol what will happen to him if he ever decides to come in front of Hyunsung again. Hyunsung begins slapping Mincheol while thinking how in his previous life, Mincheol became a father who knew nothing but his daughter. Miho and the others were the same too. They were just as successful, and Hyunsung couldn't believe how well they were living when he heard about them. Maybe this is karma doing its thing. Hyunsung hopes that they will suffer for the rest of their lives with trauma. Next day, at school, students are discussing what Hyunsung did to Miho and other bullies. Hyunsung then enters the class and sits down on his chair without saying anything. Then a guy who was getting bullied by Mincheol came to him and thanked him. The whole class is silent. Hyunsung asks him why he is thanking him so suddenly, because when hearing was going around he was acting like they didn't know each other. He was too scared to testify for Hyunsung before, and now he's thanking him. Hyunsung is very angry and tells him to go away. He doesn't care what'll happen to him from now on. Meanwhile, Youngmin got news from a boy that Mincheol and the others got expelled, and their plan was ruined. Youngmin gets up angrily and remarks how Mincheol and the others beat Hyunsung up thinking that he is just a powerless boy, but what they discover is that the eldest son of Myeongjin is backing him up. Boy reminds Youngmin that no one can lay a hand on Hyunsung in Daesan, since there's no one in Daesan that can win against Myeongjin Construction, and asks if Youngmin is going to give up. Youngmin replies with no because thinks that situation is not that bad. He is thinking about using this as an opportunity to earn more money. If they can make tens of thousands just by taking care of a high schooler, they'll actually have to thank them for this opportunity. Youngmin asks the boy about the head of the freshmen and orders his underling to bring him here. Meanwhile, at the class, Hyunsung thinks that in order to take down the Golden Circle, he has to excel academically. Their targets are the students who perform better than their members. If he keeps getting the best grades consistently, the Golden will have no choice but to act. To one of the members, Hyunsung is probably a thorn in their side, since he got great grades in middle school. So the reason behind Mincheol and the others targeting him was probably that the members' orders were relayed to Youngmin. In this classroom or somewhere in this school, the real culprit is hiding. The one who wants Hyunsung gone, so that they can take his position. He has a few subjects in mind, but he decides to not act based on what he thinks without any solid evidence. What he needs to do now is prepare for the things that he will eventually face in the future. He stands outside a building and explains that Young Dukiel, Korea's first ever MMA fighter to become the UFC world champion. But right now, he's just a remnant of the past that no one cares about anymore. He enters the building and realizes that it's just as shabby as he expected. A person asks him if he is here to register. Hyunsung replies with yes and tells him that he wants to become good at fighting. Dukiel is another missing piece to Hyunsung's puzzle. Meanwhile, at the school rooftop, first-year Jinwoo has arrived to meet Youngmin. Youngmin is impressed by seeing his physique because he thought that Jinwoo is a boy who used to run errands. Youngmin has a favor for Jinwoo, and that is he has to beat down Hyunsung of the first year until he never acts like a normal human again. Then, at the gym we see Dukiel, who already realized that Hyunsung is a high school student. He tells him a little about the gym, like physical education prep, stress relief, or even improvement in diet. This gym takes pride in satisfying their customers 100%. The monthly fee is 150,000 won. Hyunsung looks at Dukiel and thinks that it's hard to recognize him at once because of his mustache, but Hyunsung is certain that he's Dukiel, the previous champion of the UFL. Dukiel asks him his motive for coming to the gym. Hyunsung answers that he wants to learn how to fight, to the point that he can trample on all those bullying bastards. Hearing that, Dukiel refuses to teach him because according to him, the gym isn't a place that teaches someone how to fight. Dukiel tells him if he just wants to come to this gym, because he wants to beat someone up, he should go back. Dukiel advises him to exercise a bit, so that those bad guys will not bully him. Hyunsung thinks that Dukiel is the first Korean UFL champion, and there's a reason why someone who should be able to live solely on his fame would be content with just running a small gym in the countryside. Prohibited substances. In a doping test immediately following his third title defense battle, anabolic steroids were detected. Dukiel admitted his mistakes and made no excuses, and his career ended with that. But that's not Hyunsung's business. because what he's focusing on was Dukyeol's other talent. When Hyunsung was in coma, he heard on TV that someone who was trained by Dukyeol became the UFL champion in just a few years despite having no talent or anything. Dukyeol, who turned a third-rate fighter into the best athlete of South Korea. If Hyunsung just appeases him, he'll definitely be able to lay the foundation to his own strength. Hyunsung reminds Dukyeol that in order to win against his opponent during his time as an athlete, he did everything regardless of the methods and means. Hyunsung tells him that he will also do everything he can to achieve his goal as well, so there shouldn't be any problem. Dukyeol tells him that it was a mistake he made simply because he was a fool. If he can turn back time, he will not make the same mistake again. He has constantly regretted the decision he made at the time. If Hyunsung makes a foolish choice depending on the results he sees in front of his eyes, he won't be able to get out of a bad situation just like Dukyeol. In the end, Dukyeol refuses to take him in. According to Dukyeol, if Hyunsung goes to the gym just because he wants to beat up some bullies, he'll end up in some unknown prison. Hyunsung offers him 100 million won because Hyunsung already knows that Dukyeol needs money right now. If he promises Hyunsung that he will teach him, Hyunsung will wire him 100 million won within a day. Hyunsung will give it as a down payment, so even if he quit in the middle, Dukyeol won't face any loss. The side effects of drugs. Social awareness. Disqualified from the mixed martial arts stage. According to Hyunsung, Dukyeol had predicted it all, but he still chose the drugs in the end. In the end, this was the result of his own choices. The same goes for Hyunsung. He already is aware of the fact that he might go around picking fights left and right after learning how to fight, and the consequences of his actions could possibly turn out to be worse than he'd expected. He might end up becoming a cripple, or get locked up in a youth detention center and be in and out of prison for the rest of his life. But Hyunsung has prepared himself in case that kind of life does befall him and came here. Just like when Dukyeol decided to use drugs back then, Hyunsung is also desperate. Hyunsung needs him. Dukyeol requests him to never put his hands on drugs. He already put his hands on illegal substances, but he won't stand by and allow a young kid like Hyunsung to make use of the drugs like he did. Dukyeol decides to teach Hyunsung, but he has to test him first, and the test is to last one round against Dukyeol, then he will train Hyunsung. That night, we see Hyunsung is very injured. His grandma is scared and asks him what happened to him. Hyunsung reassures his grandma saying that nothing happened. At the gym, we see Dukyeol calling himself the worst. He was about to message Hyunsung to tell him to forget about their deal, but then he remembers how his fight went with Hyunsung. Before starting, Dukyeol warns Hyunsung that he will not joke around as he has already met various kinds of people while he did sports. There were delinquents and many students like Hyunsung who came to Dukyeol who didn't want to get beat up in school anymore. Hyunsung's objective doesn't matter to Dukyeol because when he is going to set foot in the ring, all of it will become non-existent. Dukyeol tells him that kids like him who know how to fight a little beg for mercy after getting a few hits on their chins. The rules are simple. The round will last 3 minutes. There will be no ground fighting. If he proves to Dukyeol that his will is unbreakable, then he will train him to be the best. After the final confirmation, that match is about to start. Dukyeol notices that Hyunsung's stance is flimsy, but he's not showing even a little bit of fear. Dukyeol went in for the first hit, but Hyunsung dodged it. Or he thought so. He still got hit on the face even after blocking it. Dukyeol, with a cold expression, asks Hyunsung to get up because it's only been 10 seconds. Dukyeol hits him again and again. While getting hit, Hyunsung notices the speed and power and realizes that if get hit properly one time, he will be knocked out. Suddenly, Dukyeol stopped punching. While Hyunsung thought of something, Dukyeol kicked him. He falls down to the ground. Dukyeol advises him to stop, but breaking Hyunsung's will isn't this easy. He gets up again saying that 3 minutes aren't over yet. Hyunsung can't do anything but block Dukyeol's fist. At the rate, Hyunsung's stamina will deplete faster, so he decides to pick up some moment, even if just a tiny bit. When he hit back, Dukyeol easily dodged his attack and hit back. Hyunsung falls to the ground. Dukyeol thinks that it's over and wonders if 1 minute has passed. He realizes that Hyunsung withstood for an impressive time. To make himself feel better, Dukyeol assumes that he went soft on him. But in reality, he was trying to return. He was thinking about 100 million. But he still can't sell his self-esteem to a bastard who can't even endure this. When Dukyeol was about to leave, Hyunsung got up and asked him to not leave. Because it's not over yet. Dukil still didn't like Hyunsung and decided to destroy him because he crossed the line. He warns Hyunsung that he won't go easy on him from this point onwards. So Dukil went in and launched a barrage of punches on him. But suddenly, punches stopped. Hyunsung thought that he was going to use the same tactic as before. But this time it wasn't a kick, but a punch on the liver. Hyunsung is on the ground again. Dukil tells him that 1 minute and 30 seconds left. If he doesn't get up in 15 seconds, Dukil will consider this fight over. Hyunsung is on the ground trying to get up, but his body won't listen to him. Dukil thinks that he hit Hyunsung with a solid shot. Dukil concludes that he will not be able to get up. On the other hand, Hyunsung is trying his best to get up. He's been waiting for this moment. He reminds himself that he was praying for this moment to come for 10 years in coma. He was praying for someone to kill him, but now he can't take that one hit. If Hyunsung doesn't want to repeat history again, he has to get up. As long as he can get his revenge, he doesn't care if he falls into the devil's den. So, until he rips those bastards to shreds, he can't fall down. Seeing Hyunsung, Dukil thinks that the punch he hit Hyunsung with is something even professionals struggle to recover from. He can't imagine the life that Hyunsung lives. He realizes that if a person like Hyunsung becomes powerful enough to fight, his whole life might spiral. Dukil understands his desperation, but he can't let him live a life full of regrets. So he decides to stop him. He went in to give a final blow. But Hyunsung is enduring everything. Even his nose broke, or his teeth are knocked out. He decides to endure it no matter what. In the end, there are just 12 seconds left. Hyunsung is barely standing. Dukil gave him a clean hit in the stomach. And when a punch was about to land, the round ended. Dukil praises his endurance and tells him to go to the hospital tomorrow because the hospitals are closed at this time and Dukil will not tell anyone about this. He asks Hyunsung to follow him because Dukil has to give him the bank account number. When Hyunsung left the gym, Dukil was sitting alone thinking that a broker for a new fighting group made an offer a few days ago. That if he uses the drug just one more time and plays for the sake of fun, they'd compensate him generously. But Dukil refuses that offer after getting 100 million won from Hyunsung. At Hyunsung's house, he explains to his grandma that he just had a minor disagreement with some of his classmates and assures her that he is in a good shape and everything has been resolved. Hyunsung confirms from his grandma if she has a subscription account. She answers with yes and tells him that she has already put in 100,000 won everything for a decade. He tells her that this time, there's an apartment application from Myungjin Construction and asks her to fill it out. There is a chance that they may get chosen. Grandma is worried because even if they get chosen for the application, they won't be able to enter if they do not have enough money. Hyunsung tells her that only stupid people say things like this. These days, they can get loans easily, so they won't have any problem paying the balance even if they sell this villa. If she can't afford it, she can also sell the lot ownership to others. Grandma is proud of him and asks him when he will become an expert on buildings. Hyunsung is not worried because Changbyeom will put Grandma's name on the list of winners. If it were up to Hyunsung, he'd like to give her 100 million won writing like he did with Dukil, but if he does that, she'll definitely question the source of the money. This way, his grandma won't be suspicious. The next day, we see Yongmin praising Jinwoo because he has heard from his underling about how Jinwoo trampled on Hyunsung as soon as he told him. Yongmin keeps on praising him and even asks him to tell everyone that he is Yongmin's little brother. Jinwoo, who doesn't even know what is going on, decides to go on, because this is his to look good in front of seniors. Jinwoo asks him to tell him if he wants anything else in the future and leaves. Then Jinwoo goes to Hyunsung's classroom to check the situation. He sees from the window that Hyunsung's face is all messed up. He wonders if Hyunsung got beaten outside the school. Jinwoo realizes that after seeing Hyunsung all beaten up, Yongmin must have assumed that it was his doing. He also assumes that Hyunsung is not that strong because he got beaten up outside the school. He decides to trample on Hyunsung so hard that he won't be able to crawl in here. Jinwoo orders his underlings to tell all the new students that if anyone acts friendly with Hyunsung, will die by Jinwoo's hands. At the gym, Dukil was telling Hyunsung that to do anything, he must be physically fit, especially if he is working with his body. If his stamina is such that he gasps after just a few punches, learning anything is meaningless. If he's desperate, then he has to endure the training with tenacity. If his stamina didn't improve, Dukil will not teach him anything in the future. Hyunsung has to endure the harsh training for 2 hours. He is determined to endure anything for his revenge. In order to defeat Youngmin, who is trained for years, Hyunsung has to get through this endurance training like it's nothing. And Youngmin is just the beginning. In order to bring the golden circle out from hiding deep under the surface, he must defeat opponents even stronger than Youngmin. Seeing Hyunsung enduring this even after 2 hours, Dukil realizes that his endurance is off the charts. Because it's not just 2 hours of training, it's 2 hours of hellish training that pushes one beyond his limits. Dukil senses great potential in him. He wonders if he should introduce that training method now. He tells Hyunsung that after being kicked out of the ring, he searched for ways to become the best without resorting to cheating. Even though his own career has come to an end, he wants his disciples to shine in the ring. From this point forward, Dukil will incorporate that into his training program. If Hyunsung can keep up, he'll possess unparalleled potential and ability, surpassing anyone out there. 1 week later, at school, a boy came to Hyunsung and said, "I don't think this is fair. Everyone's being unjust to Hyunsung. He didn't even do anything wrong." This is Kim Siwoo. Siwoo hesitated to approach him before because he had become quite different from what he remembered. Siwoo didn't want to participate in isolating Hyunsung like others, just because of that reason. So, he asked him to hang out together like friends. Hyunsung didn't know the situation and asked him, "What do you mean by isolating me?" Siwoo can't believe that Hyunsung didn't realize that he's being isolated. He asks Siwoo more about the situation. He tells him that Jinwoo has threatened to kill those that were even just a tiny bit close to Hyunsung. Then Hyunsung asks him why he is here. Siwoo says that he used to go to the elementary school together. Siwoo is determined to not stand by and see his friend getting bullied like this. Now Hyunsung starts to remembers. In his previous life, Siwoo was the only one who stood by his side and tried to protect him from Mincheol gang. Because of which, Hyunsung was able to taste freedom even though it only lasted for a short while. But the Mincheol gang switched their target to Siwoo and started bullying him. And after being beaten to the point of breaking his leg, Siwoo no longer talked to Hyunsung. Then, one day, when he was in a vegetative state, Siwoo came to him and apologized to him, blaming himself for not protecting Hyunsung until the end. He wasn't able to protect him because he got scared. In the present, Hyunsung with a cold expression asks Siwoo to not act like he's his friend. He asks him to not be all high and mighty and just act like the others. He can handle his own problems himself. Siwoo decides to talk with him later because the bell just rang. Before leaving, Siwoo told him that he will just do what he wants to do and will never leave him alone. And also told him that he will wait for him after the class. When he left, Hyunsung thought to himself that he has no idea what lies ahead for him or how many wounds and pain he'll have to endure in his fight against the Golden Circle. But one thing is for sure, and that is that nothing is going to come out of getting Siwoo involved. He'll become miserable just like before. He decides to cut out all the good relationships other than his family. He decides to find a way to make Siwoo leave him alone. When class ended, Hyunsung went to see Siwoo, but he wasn't there. Some students were talking nearby saying that Jinwoo took Siwoo away by dragging him. Without wasting a moment, Hyunsung ran to find Siwoo. After that we see Siwoo with Jinwoo. Jinwoo reminds him that he strictly warned everyone not to hang out with Hyunsung. Angered, Jinwoo asks him if he can't hear or lose his senses of fear. Hearing that, Siwoo asks him who he is to tell him whether he should hang out with Hyunsung or not. Even though Siwoo doesn't know why Jinwoo is harassing Hyunsung, Siwoo tells him that he is Hyunsung's friend. He got very angry and said, "Stop beating around the bush and come at me." Without wasting a moment, Siwoo appears in front Jinwoo and punches him in the face. Jinwoo fell down with just one punch. His minion asks him if he is all right. Humiliated, Jinwoo orders his minions to attack him. They all surrounded Siwoo. One ran to attack, but easily got down. Same thing happened to the second one. Siwoo was fighting thinking that Hyunsung must be feeling angry. He realizes that Hyunsung left him to prevent him from entering this mess, but Siwoo still got caught in it. As Siwoo is a best friend of Hyunsung, he can't pretend not to see this. He thinks that Hyunsung is just a little more extreme now, but is still the same as he was back then. Saiwoo is determined not to give up because Hyunsung is his friend. He fought hard, but with the amount of minions Jinwoo had, he slowly got overwhelmed. Then Jinwoo gets up and asks him if he has learned Taekwondo. Without hearing the answer, he hits Saiwoo in the face. He says that it's always bastard like him, thinking that they've become something just because they learned a little bit of martial arts. Jinwoo kept on hitting Saiwoo, saying that he should have acted in moderation. He tells him that he's screwed up now. From today on, Jinwoo has decided to tie him up as a pair with Hyunsung and turn his school life into hell. In the morning, during class, during breaks, during lunch, and even after school, Jinwoo will keep on calling him, so he asks him to be prepared. Then, Hyunsung slams open the door. He asks Jinwoo what he is doing. Jinwoo was thinking that it was someone else, but seeing Hyunsung, he gets relieved and asks him what he wants to say. Hyunsung was thinking of taking care of Jinwoo soon, but seeing the situation, this is his best chance. Since Jinwoo is on a different weight level than him, he wouldn't stand a chance against him if he fought against him without any tactics. In order for Hyunsung to stand a chance against him, he has to annoy him a little. Then, Hyunsung tells him that he has a lot to say to him. Hyunsung provokes him, saying that he heard he beat kids up. He says that it was funny for them to get beat up by a fat ass that only relies on his weight size. Hyunsung's plan is working. Jinwoo is slowly getting annoyed. He reminds Jinwoo that he only won against Saiwoo because he had his minions with him and asks him if what he is saying is wrong. Hyunsung decides to do one-on-one just like this. When minions start mocking Hyunsung, Jinwoo asks them to stay back and decides to fight one-on-one. Seeing the Jinwoo filled with, Hyunsung already knows how he will attack. First, Jinwoo will charge at him without thinking. He's the leader of this group only because of his size. His movements are big, and they'll be even bigger. Hyunsung launches a straight jab in the face. He looks down on Jinwoo, asking him if this is all it takes to get him down. Hearing that, he gets more angry and launches another attack. Hyunsung was already expecting that angered Jinwoo will try a takedown on him, believing in his endurance against hits. But Hyunsung has learned how to deal with that from Dukyeol. He delivers a strong punch on Jinwoo's face, and then kicks him on the ground. Hyunsung decides to scare Jinwoo to the point from which he never crawls his way up again. He has to overdo it. Hyunsung was hitting him so brutally that other students got scared to death. Then, Jinwoo grabs Hyunsung's feet and starts asking for forgiveness. Hearing that, Hyunsung tells Jinwoo to repeat what he said behind his back in front of everyone and asks him if he is sure he will be able to beat him up. Terrified, Jinwoo again said sorry and told him that he didn't do it because he wanted to. He reveals that Yangmin was the who instructed him to do all this, and for Jinwoo, there's no way to refuse the command from a senior. He agrees that the rumors that said that he can beat him are false. Then, Jinwoo apologized again and said that this has all happened just because of Yangmin. Hearing that, he kicks Jinwoo in the face and gives everyone a final warning. From now on, if anyone ever lay his hands on Saiwoo, Hyunsung promises that he will follow them to the end of the world and kill them. After that, Hyunsung takes Saiwoo to the clinic where he tells him that he should just act like normal kids from now on if he doesn't want today's events to repeat again. But Saiwoo, who thinks of Hyunsung as a best friend, decides not to stop. He is determined to go all the way with Hyunsung. Then, Hyunsung explains everything to Saiwoo. He tells him that he is going to take down all the bullies for his revenge and asks him to never get in his way again. Because if Saiwoo stayed close to him, what happened today would surely happen again and again. Before leaving, Hyunsung tells him that the kind and warm Hyunsung that he once knew is gone, so he shouldn't get in his way and stay safe. After that, at Yangmin's classroom, he was looking at his phone smiling. He is happy because he is getting millions of won just for beating down a bunch of kids. Yangmin has heard that the commotions are going on in other schools. If he hopped in there as well, he would earn billions of won easily. Hyunung was hearing everything from outside. He furiously opened the door and entered the classroom. Yangmin was sitting right in front of him. He asked him if he was the one who opened the door so furiously. Without wasting a moment, Hyunsung attacked Yangmin. But Yangmin blocks the attack and asks him who he is. Without answering, Hyunsung kept on attacking. Yangmin realizes that this person is working out somewhere, but there's no power behind his punches at all, and his patterns are also very obvious. Then, Hyunsung hits him with a strong punch that he was not expecting at all. After hitting, Hyunsung reveals that he is the one who Yangmin was looking for. Hyunsung didn't even wait a moment and attacked him with the chair. He is fighting dirty because he knows he can't win in a fair fight. If he loses this advantage he has, it will be the end of him. Then, he throws the chair at Yangmin, but he dodges it. Suddenly after, he launches a punch at him, but this time Yangmin stops it. Yangmin tells him that he is dead meat now and launches a punch. Hyunsung was expecting the punch from the front, but he destroyed his expectation by hitting him in the stomach. He endures the punch and thinks that compared to Dukiel this is nothing. Yangmin didn't stop and kept on hitting. While getting hits, Hyunsung was thinking that from the beginning, he knew he's no match for Yangmin. For Hyunsung, this fight is just about proving himself. He never planned to come out of it unscathed. He needs to bet everything on this one chance he's got. When he's faced with death, Hyunsung grabs him and aims to throw him outside the window. Yangmin barely holds on and asks Hyunsung what he wants. He answers that he wants to go all the way. Whether he will die, Yangmin will die today. Other seniors see that the situation is getting dangerous and decide to take away Hyunsung. When they were taking him away, Hyunsung warned him that this would not be the end. He tells Yangmin that from the moment he laid hands on his friend, he signed his own death warrant. He warns Yangmin that he will hit him with a chair every time he sees him. Hyunsung gives him all the warning and threats he could before getting taken away. Yangmin was standing stunned in shock. One boy asks Yangmin if he is okay. Yangmin responds that he shouldn't be asking this and questions him if didn't see him beating down Hyunsung. There were many glass pieces stuck at Yangmin's back. 30 minutes later, the announcer asks for the students whose names are called to the principal's office. After a while, Young Cheol entered the room where Hyunsung beat Yangmin. Seeing the scene, Young Cheol thought about Hyunsung's, saying that it hasn't been long since he dealt with the last incident, but Hyunsung has already caused another mess to clean for him. He thought that he'll have to patch things up first. It won't be difficult to shut Jinhwa's mouth for Young Cheol. The only problem is Principal Daehwan. Young Cheol doesn't know about the disciplinary committee that happened the other day, but Principal Daehwan has always wanted to turn this school into a prestigious one. Young Cheol wonders if Daehwan will let this matter go. When Young Cheol went to the principal's office and reported everything to Daehwan, he was shocked to learn that Daehwan is willing to let this matter go. Young Cheol was really shocked and asked Daehwan what he's talking about. Daehwan explained that his friends said to him that Changbyum, the eldest son, rose rapidly in the succession war of Myeongjin construction, and that very Changbyum has agreed to become the sponsor of this, Kienil High School. Changbyum stated that he would contribute significantly to the school's operating expenses, and once he became the chairman of Myeongjin construction, he promised that he'd greatly increase the scale. Daewon explains that sponsorship is different from donations or contributions. People only do sponsorship when they want something in return. Daewon asked Young Cheol what he thinks Changbyum is hoping to achieve by sponsoring Kienil High. Asking that, he gave him choices like company image or reputation. Daewon himself answered that it's none of these. Changbyum made a favor that during the time Hyunsung attends Kienil High, whatever trouble he causes, he wants all the teachers to bury it. So, Daewon told Young Cheol to pretend like nothing happened. He said that it's common to back up a few students of the school. After explaining everything, Daewon said that he's not asking Young Cheol to do everything for free. Performance-based pay and various privileges that the school provides. The top priority will be Young Cheol in all these. And as Changbyum said, he left a few openings for the Myeongjin construction apartment application that is happening soon. Daewon said that he has heard that real estate prices are gradually rising. So he advised Young Cheol to get a decent apartment for himself and for his wife. He told Young Cheol that he can carry on his duties as usual. But instead of protecting other bullies and ground, they'll protect Hyunsung only. Hearing all that made Young Cheol really excited, and he immediately agreed to do as Daewon said. Daewon said Young Cheol that if Hyunsung graduates without any problem, Kienil High will be riding on the back of Myeongjin construction. By then, Young Cheol will earn the most alongside Daewon. Right then, a guy entered the room and told them that someone hit Hyunsung. They both shouted together asking him about the person who hit Hyunsung. After a while, Yangmin was called to the principal's office. He was shouting that this is unfair. He told them that Hyunsung came looking for him first and beat him up. So, Yangmin can't understand why they're letting Hyunsung go. At that moment, Daehwan said to Young Sheol that Yangmin is a senior. On top of that, he even learned mixed martial arts. He also said that Yangmin has indiscriminately assaulted his junior, who is 2 years younger than him. Saying that, he asked Young Sheol if what Yangmin did was right. Then Young Sheol also asked Yangmin if he thinks he doesn't know who Yangmin is. He said to Yangmin that he knows he always beats up the kids whenever he has the opportunity. Hearing all that, Yangmin shouted angrily that this is really unfair. He told them that because of Hyunsung he almost fell and died, and there's even a witness who saw everything. Young Sheol heard that and said to Yangmin in a low voice, "Hey, there is a witness to every case. It's just a matter of whether they can be trusted or not. Go up to any random person on the street and ask them, who is more trustworthy, the school's model student or a bully like Yangmin?" Young Sheol asked Yangmin who he thinks people will choose. Suddenly, Yangmin yelled and cursed the teacher. Immediately, the teacher grabbed his collar and asked Yangmin to listen to him properly. He said that if he kept denying everything and kept doing something like that, he might charge him with extra crimes. After warning him, Young Sheol freed his collar and asked him if he's willing to admit that he's done something wrong. At that moment, Yangmin felt something similar yet so unfamiliar. The adults that were in front of him were bastards just like him. At that moment, he realized, messing with Hyunsung is nothing like dealing with a random poor guy. In the end, Yangmin had no choice but to take the blame for the crime he never committed. After Yangmin left the room, he cursed Young Sheol and thought how dare he choose to stand against Hyunsung. While walking, he wonders what he is supposed to do in this situation. With graduation looming near, he can't let this drag him down. Thinking for a while, he called someone and thought that even if he has to pay a little extra, he has no choice but to seek help from the outside. Outside the school, inside a random car, a guy was getting a headache while holding the details about Hyunsung. He said that this is something that they usually do. He wonders from where did Myeongjin construction come from. He thought that all of the target's bullies were expelled, and the school's principal and teachers are taking Hyunsung's side. He thought that the failure of the mercenary would become the responsibility of him, the broker. He also reminds himself that the Golden Circle doesn't tolerate any mistakes. So he decides to handle this himself. This guy is the Golden Circle's broker, in charge of the countryside, Taegu. The next moment, Taegu was sitting in front of Principal Daehwan and said that he's Yangmin's uncle. Taegu said that he learned from Yangmin that he received unfair treatment. So Taegu asked Daehwan to provide him more details. While he said that, he thought to himself that people like Daehwan never take on any risks. Daehwan has an innocent expression as he said that his school never treats any student unfairly. Taegu thought that if Daehwan feels even the slightest sense of danger, he will immediately bow down. Then, Taegu said to Daehwan that there was something quite interesting that occurred few days ago. He is talking about the incident when 4 students were rushed to the ambulance, and even Haven been expelled. But Hyunsung, the other party involved, only walked away with a slight punishment, even though it should be a matter of police action. So he asked Daehwan if he's giving special treatment to student Hyunsung. He told Daehwan that if that's really the case, he won't be taking this lightly. Hearing all that, Daehwan called it an interesting story. He said that in Daesan, there are laws that exist solely for Daesan. Considering the future of students, Daehwan said that they decided not to proceed with a police investigation. He told Taegu that they've already concluded their discussions with the police. So he asked Taegu to go ahead and do whatever he wished. Taegu got really angry and asked Daehwan if he's really fine with that. He reveals that he's the type of guy who really does the things he has said. Still, Daehwan didn't show a slight hesitation and said that this kind of threats doesn't work on the people of Daesan. After leaving the school, Taegu went to the police station and said everything. But the police didn't care and told Taegu that that incident was an act of self-defense in response to the victim's violence. Police officer said that he can see how the events unfold. He asked if he was really supposed to investigate everything and ruin a student's life. He also adds that if they're going to punish student Hyunsung, they should first throw Yangmin in the jail. Hearing that, Taegu got really angry and hit the table. He said that this is exactly why people have lost faith in the police and criticized them all. He warns them that if they don't handle this situation properly, he'll make this public. He asked him if he's aware of how terrifying the internet can be these days. Still, police officer didn't care and said that this is not Seoul but Daesan. Police officer said that even if Taegu publicizes everything, It'll just fade away after a few days of vacation. Now, Taegu started wondering what kind of town this Daesan even is. Taegu learned that Daehwan and the police chief of Daesan and Daehwan are best buddies. The reason is that Daesan is a small town, so everyone knows each other. Taegu realized that Daehwan was so confident all this time because he trusted the local cartel. The local cartel was a fairly complicated problem. If it worked based solely on rights and interests, there should have been room to somehow intervene. But as local sentiment and territorial defensiveness plays a large part in it, outsiders had no say in the running of the local affairs. Sitting outside, Taegu said that those people calling themselves public officials are taking sides so blatantly. He wonders if this is why everyone is trying so hard to stay in Seoul. He thought that countryside commissions are easy, but when it comes to it, no one actually wants to do them. If something goes wrong with the commission and it fails, he hit the table and said that he'll not fail. The Golden Circle has never failed in any commissions up until now. It's not an exaggeration to say that all of their current fame is thanks to that. Even if Taegu somehow botches it, the Golden Circle will send another broker and complete the commission. But if that happens, everything Taegu built will crumble. Because the Golden Circle doesn't let their failures live in peace. He grabbed his own hairs tightly and thought that at times like this, he has to calm down and think. That way he'll figure something out. At night, Yangmin was walking on the road talking to Taegu. When Yangmin learned that Taegu was unable to do anything to Hyunsung, Yangmin reminded him that he said he'll help him. Hearing that, Taegu asked Yangmin if he thinks the Golden Circle is a joke. He said to him that he's the mercenary, not him. He also asked him to remember what he said after getting extra money. Then, Taegu told him that he should read the situation properly and find an answer. He asked him who told him to fight with Hyunsung. His job was just to drag down his grades, not fight with him. Taegu said to Yangmin that he doesn't care whether he dispatches his juniors or acts himself. His job is to just tank Hyunsung grades using whatever means. He told him that even if teachers are covering him up, there's no way they can cover everything. While hearing that, Yangmin was getting angry because Taegu clearly said to him that he'll help him, but now he's just dipping him. Taegu then told him that the Golden Circle never tolerates failure. If he gives up in the middle of the commission or fails, the Golden Circle will get their payback from both Yangmin and Hyunsung. That's what a Golden Circle is. So Yahoo asked Yangmin to complete his mission at all cost. Immediately after Yangmin cut the call, someone hit him from behind. It was Hyunsung. Hyunsung reminds him that he told him to watch his back. At school, Yangmin was sitting in his chair with bandages in his nose and head. Students were talking about what happened to Yangmin. They mostly talked about how cool Hyunsung was and blah blah. At night, after Yangmin got hit in the head, he immediately got up and tried to attack Hyunsung. Seeing the attack coming, Hyunsung guessed that that lousy commission that Yangmin accepted must be more important than his life. Hearing that, Yangmin immediately stopped his punch and was about to ask Hyunsung how he knows about commission. But before he could ask, Hyunsung answered that since the broker talked to the principal, Yangmin's situation has been obvious. Hyunsung told him that Yangmin should think this through well. Hyunsung reminds Yangmin that he knows the eldest son of Myeongjin Construction is his sponsor. He told Yangmin that he had no intention of letting their little problem resolve so easily. He asked him to not think this will end with a simple expulsion. After messing with him, he'll take him to the court, and he'll make sure that the criminal record of Yangmin will be nice and lengthy. And when he finally gets out of jail, the people of Myeongjin Construction will be waiting for him. Those people will use all kinds of methods to ensure that he won't be able to settle down anywhere near Daesan. In order for Yangmin to be treated like a person, Hyunsung told him that he has no other choice but to leave Daesan. But even if he does, Hyunsung asked him if he thinks he'd give up on him. Yangmin was shocked after hearing all that and called Hyunsung a lunatic. He asked Hyunsung if he's doing this because he wanted to promote justice. Hyunsung answered with no. Hyunsung walked slowly toward Yangmin, who was really scared, and fell to the ground. Hyunsung said that he only wants one thing, and that is to annihilate the people who mess with him. Hyunsung grabbed his collar and asked him to choose. If he wants to attend school normally from now on, if he still want to be treated like a human, on the soil of Daesan, Hyunsung asked him to grit his teeth and endure, just like all the kids Yangmin has beaten in the past. Saying that, Hyunsung started beating Yangmin without stopping. This is how Yangmin got this injured. His whole face was beaten and distorted. His head is injured, His nose is also injured. Yangmin thought that he could beat Hyunsung whenever he wanted, but the problem was Myungjin Construction. But still, if he leave Hyunsung like this, Myungjin Construction will spare him, but the Golden Circle will definitely find him and make him pay the price of failure. If the rumors are true, they will destroy everything Yangmin have. He will end up like that even if he gives up on the contract now. If that's the case, then he'll surely get expelled and have a mark on his record. Suddenly, Yangmin cursed out loud, thinking what he's supposed to do. He smashed his head onto the table thinking that he shouldn't have taken the money from the Golden Circle. In the end, he hit the table and just decided to pray that Hyunsung messed up himself and get a drop in grades. If they go down even just a bit, Yangmin will be able to buy some time. Meanwhile, Hyunsung was sitting in his class and thought that the threat will work for now, but it's only a temporary solution. The situation will completely change once the midterms are over. The moment he gets overwhelmingly amazing grades, the fragile state of affairs will shatter. Yangmin, who is trying to survive at all costs. The Golden Circle, who have to complete the commissions. The contractor, who's going to become desperate in the act of trying to drag Hyunsung down. When all those tangled up emotions gather and explode, Hyunsung shall achieve what he's been striving for. As long as he can achieve those good results, the method shouldn't matter that much. Whether it's through using the principle Myungjin Construction, be it underhanded or heinous, look at the results. Is everything not going exactly as Hyunsung planned? Now, there is no one at Kyeonil who would even dare to touch him. The fortified wall built with malice gives Hyunsung a very certain sense of security. After school, Hyunsung went to the gym and trained with Dukyeol. After completing daily training, Dukyeol left the place and asked Hyunsung to rest. He said that rest is just as important as training. Hyunsung agrees because a few days ago when got caught doing training overtime, he got scolded by Dukyeol. Now Hyunsung himself has realized that good amount of rest is also necessary to become strong. When Hyunsung was about to leave the gym, someone entered the gym which shocked him. This guy is Hyunsung's one and only friend, Saiwoo. A few days ago, Saiwoo woke up in the hospital bed wondering what happened. He wondered what exactly was the disaster-like matter that completely changed Hyunsung into that determined person. He wondered why would the guy who used to laugh and say he'd give his grandmother a healthy life and make sure to succeed, go to such lengths. He remembered Hyunsung telling him his goal. The goal of tearing apart all the bullying bastards. Even if it takes his entire life. Saiwoo is regretting that he couldn't recognize the change even when Hyunsung is supposed to be his closest friend. He wondered what he should do now. Right then, a guy rushed into the room and told Saiwoo about Yangmin and Hyunsung fighting. After hearing the whole story, Saiwoo realizes that Hyunsung is the same as he was back then. Realizing that Hyunsung did all that to take revenge for Saiwoo decided that he will also fight and help Hyunsung. In the present, Hyunsung asked Dukyeol if Saiwoo was the new member. When Dukyeol answered yes, Hyunsung turned around and requested Dukyeol to not take Saiwoo in. Hyunsung offered to pay all the fees that Saiwoo agreed to pay. Before he could finish, Dukyeol answered that he didn't want to. Dukyeol said that because he's seeing the rough picture of what's going on. He thought that it's a good thing for Hyunsung to have at least one friend by his side. With that, he will cause fewer problems. Dukyeol went toward Saiwoo and said that accepting or rejecting people in this gym is entirely up to him. Dukyeol called Saiwoo his handsome guest and asked him to come with him. As he was leaving, he asked Hyunsung to leave and not overstep his boundaries. In the room, Saiwoo told Dukyeol that he wants to help Hyunsung. Dukyeol asked him if he's aware that Hyunsung wants to swipe away all the bullies. Saiwoo answered with yes, which Dukyeol didn't want to hear. He started feeling dizzy thinking he has to do a new consultation, which he hasn't done in a long time. Staying silent for a moment, Dukyeol asked Saiwoo if he thinks Dukyeol's gym is some kind of recommended place for school violence. He answered himself with no, and said if it were up to him, he would like to out Hyunsung too. Saiwoo said that he understands. Because the gym is supposed to be a place to train oneself. He took out a bandage from his face and showed Dukyeol the wounds he got while standing up to the bullies who were trying to harass Hyunsung. He said that the school violence that is happening right now isn't as simple as adults think. At that time, had Hyunsung not helped Saiwoo, he would have become a cripple, lying on the toilet ground. As of now, Hyunsung is already risking his life to protect Saiwoo. Saiwoo doesn't want to turn a blind eye on that kind of friend. Saying that, Saiwoo smiled and asked Dukil to not ask him to go somewhere else. He thinks that there's a reason why Hyunsung came to this place. Hearing all that, Dukil grabbed his head and thought that he had dug his own grave. Then, Saiwoo put money on the table and said that this is all his wealth. He said that if it's not enough, he'll pay it by working part-time. Suddenly, Dukil smashed the table and angrily asked Saiwoo about what made him so desperate at this age. Saiwoo didn't answer but said that even if he doesn't help him, he's still going to be with Hyunsung. Dukil heard that and thought, in that kind of situation, when even Hyunsung's closest friend is caught up in such violence. He wondered if it's the thing to tell the children living in hell not to fight back. In the end, Dukil sighed, admitting his defeat. He asked Saiwoo to start coming to the gym tomorrow, but he'll be out the moment he can't keep up with the training. As Saiwoo said yes, Dukil thought that he's just giving him courage, the ability to fight back against violence. There's nothing bad in it. After that, Saiwoo left the room. But as he left, Hyunsung guessed that Saiwoo got accepted in the gym, so he asked Saiwoo to prove himself. He has to prove that even if he falls onto the lowest level of hell like Hyunsung, he's someone who will be able to climb up with pure tenacity, that he can hold on to this petty friendship. As they wore gloves, Hyunsung said to Saiwoo, "You're well aware too, that what I'm about to do won't help my future. What will be left after stepping into this thick mud? A friendship with me? Stop the nonsense." He said to Saiwoo that he can die after fighting overnight like hell, or he can rot in prison for the rest of his life. If he bet his life on this mere thing, he'll end up with nothing in the end. He asked him if he would be able to handle it. Saiwoo answered that he's aware too. That's why he's asking him to do it together. Because at the end of the day, two are better than one. With that, Hyunsung gave the signal to start the match while warning Saiwoo to not think Hyunsung as his friend from this point onward. As Hyunsung ran toward him, he thought that he must win over Saiwoo overwhelmingly in this sparring, so that he can cut off his ties with him completely. While he was thinking that, Saiwoo threw a kick at him, which he barely dodged. Then, Saiwoo reminds him that he's a former athlete. Now, Hyunsung decided to take him seriously. He thought that if Saiwoo wasn't confident in fighting, he wouldn't stand up in the first place. Saiwoo tried to land another kick, saying that if it was 1 versus 1 against Jinwoo, he would have easily defeated him. Saiwoo was active as a taekwondo athlete for a long time and swept the gold medals of various competitions, being called a specialist. However, during a domestic competition, he encountered the son of the association's president and lost to an absurd biased decision. With a sense of skepticism, Saiwoo quit taekwondo in the end. However, the unwavering determination from that time never faded away. Right then, Saiwoo hit the ground. Hyunsung pinned him down and asked him if he knows there's a training technique called kick-catch in mixed martial arts, and that they can also attack fallen opponents. Saying that, Hyunsung started throwing punches at Saiwoo's face, asking him to accept his loss. As Hyunsung was asking Saiwoo to give up, Saiwoo was remembering the time when Hyunsung was used to protect him from bullies. Thinking about that time, Saiwoo became determined and said that he will never give up on him. He tried to throw a punch, but Hyunsung easily dodged that. After landing some more punches, Hyunsung realized that Saiwoo will not give up and ended the match. He asked him why he's going to such lengths. Hyunsung mentions that Saiwoo is already loyal enough as a friend. Saiwoo answered that he has an unforgettable memory. He was teased every day, and even though he didn't do anything, he was beaten and rolled on the floor. But he couldn't bear to tell his grandparents, who raised him, instead of parents who neglected him. Right then, Hyunsung appeared. It was just one moment that was probably nothing to Hyunsung, but Saiwoo never forgot his expressions back then. He said to Hyunsung that he knows he didn't do anything wrong. But why should he, his friend, turn a blind eye towards him? He asked if he can't do what he wants to do. It's his life. Giving up taekwondo and still being his friend. They're all choices that he made, and he won't regret them. Hyunsung was still thinking on how to make Saiwoo give up when Dukil entered the ring. He asked them if they have no plans to stop fighting and training with him. He said that he's willing to bet his life and put them on top of the UFL stage. A while earlier, Dukil thought that both Hyunsung and Saiwoo are talented, so why are they getting bullied? Even without learning from him, they have the ability to take on a few guys. While working as an UFL athlete, he has met a lot of promising players, but powerful kicks with a natural sense of distance. At this age, there hasn't been a striker who has shown as much skill as Saiwoo. On the other hand, Hyunsung was born with a fierce mental talent. a good sense of judgment to take advantage of advantageous situations, and the ability to detect any gaps in the opponent's defense. If Saiwoo were a natural talent who would undoubtedly succeed as a professional, Hyunsung has the potential to aim for the top. In the present, Dukyeol came to Hyunsung and told him that he has an offer for him. He wasn't going to make an offer at first, but Hyunsung abilities are so exceptional that it would be a waste not to use them. Dukyeol reminds him that he has told him that nothing Saiwoo does will help him in the future. Then, Dukyeol asked him to drop out, cut off the chains known as school, and just focus on sports. Even though Korea has buried Dukyeol, he's still in contact with many athletes. He said that it's not just empty words, but he can truly bring him to the top. Hearing that, Hyunsung asked him why he did MMA. He answered that it's because it stood out to him, just like it did Yo Hyunsung, and it suited his interest. Hyunsung heard that, and said that that's why he can't. He's not interested in fighting at all. It hurts so much that he wants to give up every moment. But since he has a purpose, it feels to him that he's going to die if he doesn't fulfill it. He's struggling so hard to complete his mission. Saying that, Hyunsung picked up his bag and was about to leave. Before leaving, he told Dukyeol that he should make this decision, not Hyunsung, if he thinks differently from him. Hyunsung said that they should just call off their deal and go their own way. After Hyunsung left, Saiwoo came running behind him. Hyunsung asked him to think about it carefully. He asked Saiwoo if he's really confident that he will not be sorry that he chose to do this with him. Saiwoo answered that he wouldn't. Hearing that, Hyunsung said all right, and told him that he has some conditions. First, Saiwoo is going to train with him every day. He will abandon him if he fell behind. Saiwoo immediately agrees with the first condition and asks him to tell the second. The second condition is that he will just be involved in the matters that he can handle. If it's an impossible fight or a legal matter, he must leave immediately. This time Saiwoo didn't agree immediately, so Hyunsung asked him if he can't do it. Saiwoo thought that he came to Hyunsung prepared to face anything, but that second condition is just ambiguous. He also agreed with the second condition, thinking these are all just words. Now, the third condition. Hyunsung told him that Myeongjin Construction will give him a living cost every month from now on. Before Saiwoo could say anything, Hyunsung asked him to just take it without saying a word. If he can't, they can just go their own way. In the end, Hyunsung asked him to keep on studying. Because if a time comes for him to escape from this hellish reality, as if nothing happened, Hyunsung hopes Saiwoo will have a much better life than he does. Hyunsung said that, and thought that this is for the better. He can use this situation and change Saiwoo's future as well. The next moment, Hyunsung was back home. Hyunjin, his little brother, was watching a match. He was really excited because today, the Bakers team will come into the finals. Hyunsung didn't say anything about the match and just asked him to keep watching while he prepared food for him. In his previous life, the team Hyunjin was rooting for made it all the way to the championship game. Hyunjin loved games so much, but never asked Hyunsung to buy him a computer. He was a sweet little brother who never let on that he couldn't spend much time outside having fun. As he was preparing food, he thought that grandmother, Hyunjin, and Saiwoo, at the very least, so that his precious do not suffer as a result of his actions, he'll get better and live a different life than he did before. His face turned serious as he thought that he would tear apart everything that gets in his way, no matter if it's a golden circle or someone else. Right then, Dukyeol sent him an apology message. He said that he became greedy and crossed the line at that time. He said that they should go back to their original plan. A few weeks since then, the weather was bright as midterms of second year in high school began. Midterms. The top 10 who have yet to be acknowledged socially. A place of evaluation where they can prove the importance of their existence. Hyunsung looked at the paper and thought that if he couldn't get a good score in this exam, his plan would fail before it even began. There is no need for him to get good grades. He could have easily gathered evidence and exposed the existence of the Golden Circle, but Hyunsung was determined to completely destroy them. Simple exposure can reveal only their existence. Then, the real people will cut their tails and hide. In order to drag out the real Golden Circle, he must become an immovable obstacle in their path. He has to continuously strike a nerve, relentlessly crushing their disgusting pride that they can succeed in all endeavors. Grades. It's a piece of the puzzle that he definitely needs. A piece as important as power and backing to stand up against violence. So this moment in itself is the true beginning of his revenge. Hyunsung filled in the answers as he thought that in the past, There was a drama where the main character, who was lagging behind in his studies, returned to his senior year and became the top student in the country. The students that the main character regressed after graduating high school, living for more than 10 years. Even if he solved the question, it's a bit hard for him to top. A girl asked if the student who regressed became the top student after cramming for a bit. They concluded that it's impossible for a stupid student to top even if he regressed back in time and knew all the questions. So, to make the drama better, they put more stories into the main character. The efforts in his previous life that he put so tenaciously. An extraordinary intelligent, unlike anyone else. Suddenly, Hyunsung realized that he remembered all the correct answers. In the previous life, Hyunsung worked really hard to get good grades in exams. Even while being bullied, he studies tenaciously. But in the end, he became a vegetative person, unable to give any exam. The memories of his past life remained in his mind like a branding iron. In the present, Hyunsung thought that he should never forget it. That his desire for revenge has shaped him into who he's today. After all the exams were over, the students were checking if their answers are correct or not. At that moment, a girl named Hyaji came to Hyunsung and asked him if he's not going to grade himself. Hyunsung answered no. He looked at her and thought about her. She was quite popular because of her beauty and cuteness, but she confessed to Hyunsung when she was in first year. He rejected her because he lacked confidence to juggle dating and his studies successfully. When Hyunsung said that he's not going to grade himself, Hyaji decided to grade him. She sat beside him and started grading his answers. In the end, she was really shocked because Hyunsung has scored 100 in all exams. The next day, Hyunsung called Young Cheol on the rooftop. Young Cheol came there, and after seeing Hyunsung, he called him the top ranker of the entire school. Then, he asked him what he wanted to say. Hyunsung asked him if he knew about the Golden Circle. Young Cheol was confused. He had never heard about them before. Seeing Young Cheol's reaction, Hyunsung decided to tell him everything about the Golden Circle. Subscribe for the next part.